Hi everybody, we're going to go over the different steps that you need to do a Pixlr assignment. So we're here on Pixlr now, we're going to use Pixlr Editor. Either click on it here or up on the top, you can do Pixlr Editor from there. And remember, sometimes computers or Chromebooks can have an issue with running Flash. And so if you get the message that talks about the Flash player, you basically have to enable Flash. And it doesn't hurt to manage your settings and make sure it turns Flash on every time. Otherwise, we've got some options here. If we're creating a brand new thing and we wanted a blank background, we could create a new image. Otherwise, if we're going to use some pictures that we've already found, we go ahead and open them from our computer. So then we go ahead and try to find the images we want to use. And I'll get this one for this art easel here. I'll move it over. Right now, you can see that the picture is 677 by 1117. Remember, a good size for pictures, the bigger number should be at least 1,000. So this would be a pretty good size for us to work with. Also, I'm going to open up my other picture that I want to utilize, and that's a picture of me. And when I open that one up and I look at the size, this one is 4,000 by 3,000, and that is really, really big compared to the other one. So it would be a good idea, since this one is so much bigger than the art easel, to go ahead and resize it right away, and that will help us when we try to work with it later. It'll make things much easier. So we're going to go up to Image and do Image Size, and we're going to change that 4,000 to 1,000 like I mentioned before, because 1,000 is a pretty good size as far as pictures to work with. We're going to leave constrained proportions on, and that way it'll automatically change the bottom number for us, and we'll click OK. Even though it looks super small right now, it's only at 17%. So if we change that back to like 50% viewing area, now we can see it's pretty decent size, pretty comparable to the art easel, and probably something that'll be pretty easy to work with. So we're ready to get going. We're going to take the picture of me, put it onto the art picture, so that way it looks like I'm creating that background scene there on the easel. Start out with our tools up in the corner here. We've talked about the marquee tool in class. You could use that to select things if you want to do them like in a square or a rectangle, or there is a circle that you could use as well. But in this case, we'd rather just select things that are really close to me, and so we're going to use the lasso tool, and then it'll allow us to actually draw the shape that we want to use to select. So I'm just doing a bubble around me. I'm not doing something that's right along the edges of me by any means, because we'll let some of the tools that we're going to use later on do a lot of the hard work for us and take out all the extra stuff that we don't want from the background of my picture. So we go ahead and draw around me. We get dancing ants on the screen, so that means we can go ahead and copy something because it's selected now. Remember, dancing ants are only good for a few things, copying things, stuff like that. If you try to erase or anything like that, you don't want dancing ants on your screen because that will make it so you can't erase anything. So I go up and I copy it because we're thinking of this window as a piece of paper, and we want the picture of me on another piece of paper, so we'd have to make a copy of that and basically paste it on. So I go up to Edit and paste it in. Now I've got the picture of me here. Going back to the picture that we started with, we don't need it anymore. I can close it. No, I'm not going to save anything from it. We'll just get it out of the way and be ready to move on. So now we've got the picture of me, and I'm probably bigger than I need to be on the screen, so we'll fix that in a moment. But to start off with, we're going to go ahead and take out all this extra background. So now we're going to use the magic wand tool, and that's the tool that tries to match up colors that are similar. And we'll click in different areas and hopefully get an area selected and hit delete on our keyboard. And then we can go through and just delete out a bunch of the stuff we don't need. So we'll take care of all this. Go over here, take care of that. And it did a pretty good job of cleaning things up without us having to do a bunch of extra work. For the most part, using that magic wand tool is going to save us a lot of time. There might be a few little touch-ups that we have to do here and there to get all of the extra stuff off the picture, but for the most part, it took a lot out for us and saved us a bunch of time and effort. Right now, before I can erase out all that extra stuff, those little things I need to touch up and use the eraser tool, I've got dancing ants on my screen. That's going to make it so I can't erase anything, so I need to go up and turn those off. So I do deselect all, it goes away, and now we can use the eraser tool. Remember, with the eraser tool, it by default goes to a blurry brush, and we want a nice defined edge on our brush. So I'll select 50 with a hard edge, and then that way when I go in and erase things, it does a nice crisp erase and it doesn't just blur things out, because that would make it look a little blurry, and overall blurry usually doesn't mean realistic. So there's a couple shadows here and there. Go ahead and get rid of some of that. Move my picture over a little bit so we can see the stuff on the other side. Erase out the extra with that as well. And just take your time when you're doing it. The slower you go, usually the better job you'll do. And if you feel like you've got all the extra erased out, we should be ready to move on. So I'll click on my move tool. Oh, there's some stuff up at the top here yet that I didn't get. Once I move myself around, I can see it more. So we'll go in and erase those things out real quick as well. All right, now we have a lot of the things erased out. Okay, so then to make me fit onto the picture a little bit more, I'm going to resize the image of me. Remember, there are two different layers, and we've got the layer selected that's showing me. So that means whatever we do to the background won't make a difference. So like when I was erasing, it didn't affect the background. It only affected the layer I'm utilizing. So I'm going to go up to Edit, and I'm going to free transform my image, and I can shrink it down. Keep in mind, I could spin it around upside down if I wanted to, and I could flip it from one direction, go on the other if I wanted to. Have a lot of capabilities and freedom when we use free transform. So then we'll move me over onto so my hand is on the picture a little bit more, so it looks like I'm creating the painting, and we'll apply those changes. And then, because the bottom half of me is missing, we're going to go ahead and use the crop tool, and we're going to start at the top and work our way down, and then make the bottom of the picture right where I'm getting cut off, and then you won't be able to tell that the original picture didn't have legs on it. So it shows us what's going to crop. We hit enter, and then take the rest out. Now it looks like I'm standing there making that painting. As far as last minute details, or the things that are going to make it look a little bit more realistic, we could work with the brightness and contrast, we could work with the color balance, we could work with the sharpening tool a little bit if we wanted to. The sharpening is under adjustments, and that's not something you want to do a lot. Excuse me, filters, filter, and then sharpen. Remember, it's going to take some of the rounded edges out, so if you do the sharpen tool too many times, yes, it might not look as blurry, but eventually it's going to look really blocky, and it's going to be like you're playing Minecraft or Roblox or something like that. So you don't want to do it too many times. The one that's really useful here is our brightness and contrast. So when we open that up, we could change the brightness of my picture to try to match the same brightness that's in the room. We could also turn the contrast up, which means the amount of color that's in my picture. So maybe we want to make it brighter and add more contrast to it to try to make it look a little bit more realistic. And we click OK, and if we like that. If we were doing something that involved matching up skin tones and things like that, we would go to Adjustment and do our color balance, and then we could add or delete the different amounts of red or green or blue that might be in the picture, and that will help us match it up. So if I had taken my head or my face and put it on somebody else's body and then needed to match it up with their arms or some other part of their skin that's exposed, we'd be able to do it using color balance. For the picture we're doing now, we really don't need color balance, so I'm going to click cancel so it goes back to normal. And this is probably pretty accurate or pretty decent looking for what we're trying to accomplish. Take out these little shadows here. I should spend a little bit more time and go up around my hair and take out some of that little extra background that's in there. And that's the stuff that's going to make your pictures look even more realistic the more time you spend on them, and be careful with them. But otherwise, once you're totally done, then you would go up to File and you'll do Save. If you're using your Chromebook, the only place you'll be able to put it in your Downloads folder. Remember to set your quality back to 100 so it doesn't make it blurry on you. And then it probably makes sense to go ahead and rename it to something that you're going to remember. So the original picture was called Art Easel. Maybe it could say Art Easel, and then I put Mr. K behind it so I know it was me. Click OK. For you guys, it's going to go to Downloads. I'm using a laptop, so I could save it onto my desktop if I wanted to. I do save, and now it's done and it's saved. These two layers, even though they were individual when I was working on them as a project, now that I've finished it, it'll turn it into one picture, and those layers will be merged together, and they'll no longer be separate. So hopefully that helps you out as far as doing photo editing and things like that. I'll have some other videos coming up later on for other projects, but this should be a good start for our first project.